Hi and good afternoon. It's approaching 1 minute to 12, so I'll be going live or starting the training in a minute or so. And today's topic is loose skin after weight loss. That's going to be the topic for today. So if you're on here now, then maybe grab a pen and paper so you can make some notes as I go through the presentation. Okay, so the timer struck 12, so I'll make a start. So good afternoon. Today's topic is loose skin after weight loss. My name's Eric Simpson. I'm the creator of the Coach Me Slim and Trim program. Now, loose skin after weight loss, this is something that I have been talking about with women for well over a decade now, working in the weight loss space. It's one of those things that comes up regularly in conversation. And it's one of those things that, if not dealt with and understood properly, can lead to, and I've seen it lead to, people self-sabotaging themselves because of the fear of having excessive weight loss. So excessive loose skin once they've lost the weight they want to lose. So what I'm going to be doing today is going through 6 specific things that you need to be considering, 6 things that can have an impact on loose skin. Because we can impact it, but it will be dependent upon the 6 things I'll be going through today as to how much impact we can actually have on it, or how much impact you can have on it. So that's going to be the thrust of the talk today. So if you've got pen and paper handy, without further ado, let's get right into what we're going to be discussing today. So I'll be going through history, your history, biology, the way we're made up, diet, genetics will play a big part in it, exercise, and of course, mindset, which underpins absolutely everything. So that's what we're going to be going through today. I'm just going to my phone to see if it's coming up live on here, see if I can see any questions coming in at all. I will try and check for questions, and if you do have any, do try and post them, and if I can read them, I will happily answer them. If not, you can leave the questions in the comments below and I can come back and answer them later maybe. So those are the things I'll be covering today. So let's kick off with history then. That's number 1. So the first thing is, how long have you been carrying the excess weight for? That's the starting point. And there's a reason for me asking that, because it will relate to the next slide. But also connected to your history is, if you've got children, 1 child, 2 children, 3 children, that would also obviously have an impact on your skin in terms of, maybe how your skin stretched. And then if you've not lost the weight after pregnancy, all these things are going to be part of your history and will have an impact on your ability to bring that skin back in after you've lost the weight. So history is a big factor. And it's a big factor for this reason. When you look at the makeup of your skin, we won't worry too much about the epidermis and dermis and those particular areas. I want to focus on these areas here specifically today as it relates to loose skin and being able to reduce it after weight loss. The things I've circled in red and what we're going to speak about first of all. So elastin, that's the property of the skin that gives the skin the ability to actually stretch, and I'm sure you're aware of that. So that's the stretchability. The collagen, that provides the structure for the skin. So those are the 2 things which are damaged when you stretch your skin out. And depending upon, again, back to my previous question, your history, how long you've been carrying the excess weight, that will have a direct impact upon how much damage you've done to these particular structures, elastin and collagen. So that's something to bear in mind. If we look at the fat cells in green, so this is a thing that we're trying to reduce the fat cells. Obviously, when we're losing weight, we're trying to reduce the fat cells down. Now, you can see the space that's occupying. It's considerable in comparison to, say, muscle. Here's the thing. When you lose weight and you lose these fat cells, you can understand why skin might look a little bit loose. And one of the ways to actually mitigate against that loose skin is to develop and create more lean body tissue. Now, I'm not saying that by losing all that body fat, you create all this muscle that replaces all of this space and gives you nice, taut looking skin, but it will go some way to helping you to deal with loose skin. So just think about this for a second. You lose the body fat cells, so you reduce that space. If as a female, not if, but this is fact, you lose lean body tissue as you go past the age of 30, we start to lose a percentage. So if you're now in your 40s, 50s, 60s, then this lean body tissue has reduced even more. So if you reduce the fat and you've got minimal lean body tissue, you can see why loose skin could be quite prevalent. So one of the things you want to be doing, and I'll speak about it a bit later on, is developing this lean body tissue. Because when you develop the lean body tissue, you can take up some of the space that's been left with a reduction in fat cells. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're looking at reducing the fat cells down, but then increasing the lean body tissue, so we've got a nice foundation upon which the skin can sit. Hopefully that makes sense. So key areas there: elastin, collagen. They're the structures that are damaged when you carry excess weight. The fat cells are reduced, therefore it gives that appearance of potentially loose skin. But if we can develop the lean body tissue, we can support that skin really effectively, or as effectively as we possibly can. Okay, let's tiptoe on then. Let's talk about diet, because diet will have a really big part to play in your ability to feed those two structures, elastin and collagen. Both of those structures require protein in order for them to be able to regenerate themselves. So again, if you think about your diet and weight loss, if your diet is cutting out indiscriminately food groups and it's very low in protein, you could see how that would have a negative impact on your ability to reduce that loose skin. You're not feeding the elastin and collagen with the protein, but you're losing weight. You're losing weight, you're reducing that fat area, and the skin's got nothing to really, hold on to. But if you've got a good amount of protein in your diet, you're feeding the elastin, you're feeding the collagen, you're helping those structures to get some tautness back, but you're also, by giving yourself sufficient protein, feeding that lean body tissue, which is then going to give you that base, that foundation, to hopefully make the skin a little bit tauter and less loose. So diet plays a huge role in helping you to be able to reduce the loose skin. And I've just listed a few different types of foods on here. I'm sure you're familiar with them: bone broth, chicken, fish. If you're a vegetarian, then obviously you go to the vegetarian source for you. But you can also get in packets specific types of protein. And I just thought I'd put this on here because it's important to understand this. This is collagen protein. And it's very, very easy to go down a path of thinking, well, if I buy this collagen protein, that's going to be the magic bullet. It really isn't. My advice to you would be get your basic diet really, really good. And then if you need to supplement thereafter, then you might consider something like a collagen protein. And I'd only really consider that if you spoke to a nutritionist that knew you well, or someone that's working with you and coaching you. But I wouldn't be going out there and just buying bags of collagen protein in the hope that that's going to feed my elastin and collagen and give me more taut skin. A bag of protein on its own will not do the job. So diet is obviously critical to what you are trying to achieve. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Let's talk about genetics now. And I always find this a fascinating slide to share with people, because it shows here each woman weighs 150 pounds. And when you look at them, you can see that it's distributed differently based on their height. But the other thing to bear in mind about genetics is, if you are and I'll just use my mouse, hopefully you can see this. This lady here is probably more of what I call a mesomorph type physique. So she sits in the middle almost. So right in the middle. Whereas I would say this lady here is probably verging more on endomorph. So larger, people talk about large bones, small bones, that type of description. Well, you've essentially got three body types: large, medium, small, or to give them their technical names, endomorph, large, mesomorph in the middle, and ectomorph at the skinnier end, the slim end. So if you are more endomorph in your physique, then your ability to actually have muscle mass that's going to give you that nice supporting structure is not bad, but probably not as good as someone that's a mesomorph. They tend to have slightly better muscle structure and respond a little bit better to resistance training, which I'll speak about in a moment. So just interesting to understand that, depending on your body type, will have a bearing on your ability skin to be able to contract back to the way you'd like it to be able to contract. And obviously your age as well is a factor, which I didn't mention, but age is a factor also. So that's genetics. Exercise is going to play, again, a big part. I spoke about it in the diet section. I said that when you have a diet that's got good protein in there, it's going to feed you elastin, it's going to feed you collagen, the two structures that are stretched and damaged when you're carrying excess weight. But also it's going to help with exercise in terms of restoring some lean body tissue. So when you have a diet that's got some good protein in there, you're going to help to restore some lean body tissue. So in short there, you can see a client of mine, her name's Marie. When she started, Marie was 50 when she started. She's got children, and you can see she achieved a pretty good result in terms of contracting that loose skin. Now that's not going to happen for everybody. I've just got to make that clear. And I made that clear to Marie when she started. You know, she was saying to me, well, can I get a flat stomach back? And I was like, well, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. Let's do all the things that we can possibly do within your power. I'll give you all the advice I have. You implement it, and let's see what happens. And as a consequence, she did what she wanted to do, got a flatter stomach. She wanted to have her six-pack, and she wanted to pierce her belly button as well, as a sort of a memento of doing it. And you can maybe just make it out there slightly, possibly not, that she pierced her belly button. So her exercise regime, you can see she was a keen cyclist and took up, didn't take it up. She already was a cyclist, but that was one of the things she did. But weight training was a critical part of her ability to be able to contract that loose skin and support that loose skin. So in the beginning, she was doing about 3 weight sessions a week, and then she upped that to around about 4 or 5 sessions a week. So really did quite a bit of resistance training. But interestingly enough, she wasn't doing like hours of training. It was like half-hour sessions. So there weren't long, drawn-out sessions of weight training, roughly about half an hour's worth of weight training. And she went on, and the result you can see there in the shot. So exercise, a critical part of reducing that loose skin. And then finally, mindset. Mindset is a critical one. You know, that's going to underpin absolutely everything, because without the right mindset, you're never going to get started anyway. And I show on this slide here just an interesting sort of lineage of how people went about using external motivation or external inspiration to help with their own personal motivation. And I think first and foremost, you need to be intrinsically motivated yourself. And I would say that needs to be in the high 90s. You need to be so intrinsically motivated to do this that it almost doesn't matter what's happening outside of you. But a bit of external inspiration can help as well. So the lineage here between these people, the connection is Sue got started, did a great job, took off 71 pounds. Sue then inspired Val, who saw what Sue did. Val went on and took off 31 pounds in 12 weeks. And 4 years later, still retained that weight loss. So took it off pretty quickly, but was able to maintain it long term. Val had a nickname. Her nickname was the 10K Kid. And she had that nickname because she could lie on her back and bench press 10 kilogram weights. And that was something that Katie picked up on. And she saw what Val did, got inspired, wanted to do something similar, and took it a stage further and went on to compete in a competition and get a medal, which is pretty phenomenal. That was never the goal when she started, but she achieved that, which was great. And then during a talk I was giving called the Weight Loss Escape Plan, Marie saw the result that Katie had achieved and decided that, you know what, I want to go beyond just losing the goal weight that I set myself. I want to go on and achieve a flat stomach and wear that, thing in a navel, get a navel pierced. So it's just interesting how you can use external people for a bit of inspiration as well. So it doesn't all have to come from you, but 90% of it does have to come from you internally. So that's my little presentation on loose skin after weight loss. It's going to basically boil down to, which will come as no surprise, your personal motivation. How motivated are you to reduce that loose skin? Now, I've not spoke about operational procedures that people can have. I have worked with people that have done that. And all I would say on that note is I was speaking to a surgeon some years ago now. His name's Nigel Hurlock, and he was telling me the best results he saw with people who have any sort of skin surgery, removal of loose skin, is when they've put the work in first, and then it's just a case of removing that skin. Now, it's not something that I'm sat here recommending. That's going to be a personal choice if you want to do that. And I've worked with clients in the past who have had that done. I've also worked with clients who said they were going to get it done so they could wear a bikini, but then decided, actually, I'm just going to wear a one-piece suit and not bother with the operation. So again, it's a personal choice. It's not something you have to do. So personal motivation, a big factor in it. Your diet obviously is going to underpin everything that you're able to do. And then your exercise, what sort of exercise program have you put together? And I would suggest it's one that includes resistance training and for other benefits as well, like joint protection, posture, not just for bringing that loose skin back in, but if you want to give your loose skin that really good base of support upon which it can sit and be pulled in a bit tauter, then you want to be developing some lean body tissue with your exercise. So if there are any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you would like to see a similar presentation to this and you've got a topic that you would like questions answering on, then again, just feel free to reach out to me. If you'd like to find out how maybe possibly we could work together and I could help you achieve your weight loss goal, then I'll put a link in here a little bit later on to my online calendar, where you can go and click on the calendar, select a day and a time that best suits you. We can have a conversation about your goals, where you currently are, the challenges. I can then give you an idea of what it is I do and how I do it, give you some ideas of investments. And if we think there's a fit, then we can book a second call to discuss that in greater depth. So that initial call, there's nothing to buy. It's just literally a fact-finding mission. That's me done for today. Look forward to seeing you next week. I may be moving this talk actually to a Wednesday, so keep your eyes peeled. If I move it to a Wednesday, you'll see a change of notification within the group to tell you it's going to be on a Wednesday. It'll be at a 12 o'clock time slot. But until next week, remember, it's all about having those new habits to create the new you. Thanks and bye for now.